Hey everybody, Delegate Philip Scott here. We just finished week 8 and we're headed into the final week in the General Assembly in the 2024 session. And here's my update for this week. There's been a lot of bad legislation that's gone through the House. That's just the nature of the beast when the Virginia Democrats have control. Before I talk about the bill that I really want to highlight, Delegate Joe McNamara gave a floor speech talking about inflation. And he held up a large jar of Jif peanut butter and said, this costs $7 at the grocery store. And he was talking about how the burden on Virginians is at an all-time high. And we need to be looking for ways to give relief to Virginians and not impose greater impacts on the purse. The Virginia Democrat response was pretty alarming. We all remember Marie Antoinette saying, let them eat cake. Well, the Virginia Democrats said, let them buy store brand. And they held up a jar of store brand peanut butter, jar roughly the same size, and said, well, this only costs $4. That wasn't the point. It wasn't the point that of name brand versus store brand. When I was growing up, money was tight and my mom had to buy store brand. I remember that very vividly. I would want the name brand cereal and we got store brand cereal. So that's not a debate that we should be having. The purpose of Delegate McNamara's speech was Virginians are overburdened. They have to pay more for the basic goods that they need, for energy, for consumables, services. Everything costs more, and Democrats are just interested on increasing regulation and increasing burden on localities, making it harder to build homes, making it harder to rent homes, making it harder to buy services. In the budget, they got rid of all the tax cuts that the governor had introduced and kept only the tax increases, such as the tax on Netflix or streaming services. Right now, you have a streaming subscription, there's no tax on that. The Democrats want to make sure that you have to Netflix, tax, then chill. That's basically how they want to do it. And this brings me to one of the bills that I want to highlight this week, Senate Bill 14. It gives the localities the ability to increase or have a 1% sales tax or use tax for the locality through referendum. So yes, they would take it to the people would vote on this, but it would increase taxes in localities. The purpose of the tax is to fund public schools. That's important. It's in the Constitution and we need to be funding our public schools. But right now, when Virginians are already taxed a lot on everything, well, minus streaming services, but Democrats want to change that. But we're taxed every which way. Democrats want to increase that tax burden and make it harder for people to live in Virginia. And I did not vote for that bill, and I do not support tax increases until we get our spending under control, which is way out of control. An example of that would be there was $150,000 in the budget to address loud mufflers. Yes, $150,000 in our budget to address loud mufflers. That's what Democrats are focused on, but yet there's people that are struggling to pay their bills. They're having to spend $4 on a jar of store brand peanut butter. I remember when a small jar was under $1, probably about 75 cents, I remember it being. And we're talking about loud mufflers. How tone deaf, maybe they're listening to too many loud mufflers, but how tone deaf can you really be to say, you know what, like from the General Assembly, let's just say, buy store brand. No, we should be finding ways to make it easier to live in Virginia. Or there was a news article out there that said, you know what, inflation's really bad, but how about you skip breakfast? That can save you some money. Really? Now we're saying don't feed your kids breakfast. But for the longest time, it was, hey, if you can't afford to feed your kids breakfast, schools would provide breakfast. And now the mantra is eat less? Really? This is not how you help Virginia. And so, yes, I voted no on Senate Bill 14. I vote no on any legislation that's going to make your lives harder. But it seems that Virginia Democrats are so out of touch with reality, they have forgotten. And the delegate that got up and talked about the peanut butter and saying, well, buy store brand, she was like, well, I've got more than enough discretionary income. Well, I don't. I don't have discretionary income. I have 5 daughters and a beautiful wife that I'm responsible for. I have to keep a roof over their heads, clothes on their backs, food in their stomachs. Got to make sure that we have a warm house with running water and lights on. Like, I don't have the discretionary income. We buy store brand already. And I know how hard it is to make ends meet. And so I'm not going to be the one in Richmond saying, well, I know that inflation's too high, just buy store brand. Because we're in the thick of it with you, and I will continue to fight for you and support you while I'm in Richmond. Thank you all. Take care, and God bless.